Boom. Here we are, gentlemen.
Oh,
what is up?
We are chilling.
Yeah, sure. You can tell it's our first podcast because we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
How do we start this?
How do we start? I guess we just go. I'm your boy Tactix.
That's his whole introduction.
I love how you froze too. Like we don't know what
it was. I'm your boy Darcy, and I don't know what I'm doing here.
Well, I'm Big Geek Umar, so.
You couldn't figure out if you were going to say I'm yours or
I don't mean I'm your Big Geek Umar because that's just weird.
I'm your Big Geek Umar. I don't even know who you are yet.
Oh man, Darcy looks the most professional in this bitch though.
Yeah, we
got
know.
The mic and everything.
I got other YouTube stuff that I do, so it's gotta be right.
Fair enough.
I look like an aviator with this thing on.
So I guess how this all got started is but Darcy and myself, we were talking randomly over the phone, and we decided that it'd be cool to just have a podcast and like talk about geeky stuff. I mean, we do that all the time as is in real life, so we figured why not just kind of record some of this shit and see.
So that's how it started. I thought it was when I asked that question in our group chat, and you guys both went into like a voice note war, just like going back and forth.
Let's not start this fight already, okay? I can see where this is going. Y'all need to just chill. Like it started with me and you. No, it started with me and you. Let's not take it there, okay? Already.
Very true.
Well, okay, fine. So that's how it started. That's the official record. I might as well. I'll start the podcast by asking you guys a question.
Cool.
In DC Comics, there's the Green Lantern Corps, and
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them. You've never heard of Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, I think there's trauma there, and I'm just blocking it out.
Not even thinking about it. But so recently, what they've done is they've kind of expanded it. It's not just the Green Lantern Corps. They now have multiple corps that each relate to a different emotion. So my question to you guys is, which corps do you think you belong to, and why?
So you want to give us a rundown of what the different emotions are and their corresponding colors?
Sure. So red, obviously, is rage. Orange is greed.
Okay.
Yellow is fear.
Okay.
Green is will. Blue is hope. And indigo is compassion.
Uh-huh.
And then violet or sapphire, that's love. And then like black and white are death and life, respectively. But like we don't really go to that ones because like that doesn't really matter to us right now. So,
no, man, I am black as all hell. I am death. No, I'm kidding.
Well, this conversation took an interesting turn.
Got dark, yo.
I just because you said we don't go there, I had to challenge it.
But so if you guys need me to like run down those again, just let me know. But like, which one do you guys think that you are?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything you said after red. I'm just kidding. No, okay, I'll kick it off. So when you set the agenda to us earlier, I went and did some research and some homework, and I was like, let me hit the interwebs and let me try to get this and get the best answer possible. So I hit BuzzFeed and it did a quiz because obviously that's where
I actually forgot about doing that. That's a great idea.
I was gonna tell you guys, and I'm like, no, it'd be better if I do it myself. And I'm glad I did not send you there because I came out with something I disagree with, which was
black.
You are dead inside. No. I got indigo / compassion, and I didn't like it because one of the questions was like, which Dungeons and Dragons character would you be? And I'm like, okay, I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, so let me just Google these characters. I'm like, this is super biased. So my real answer, what I think I would be, and this is where I debate. I feel like I'm somewhat like I think my natural first instinct is to say I'm green because willpower is like a strong thing with me in life. But Blue a little bit because I don't know, I kind of identified with the character that Hal Jordan meets on Mojo because you were just telling me the stuff because I can't remember nothing and the I forget what is the character's name on that planet.
Saint, oh god, I can't remember his name right now. Saint something.
Yeah, see, I don't feel bad now, but like I feel like I identified a little bit with his personality and like why he was given the Blue Lantern ring, and like it was basically invented in that episode, at least in that continuity.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, but I don't know. I guess I have to go with my gut would be green because willpower is like just like I don't know, a cornerstone for me in my life.
Saint Walker, that's his name. Sorry.
That feels just like not as good of a name as I wanted it to be.
It's not as alien as you wanted it to be.
Yeah, it was just like Saint, this guy from over in England.
Yeah. Okay, so you think green with a possibility for blue as like a secondary.
Yeah, like teal. Let's go teal.
This guy's blending colors.
Bro, I am biracial. Blending colors is my nature.
Fair enough.
T, how about yourself?
Okay, so I didn't really do my homework, but based on the synopsis here, I feel like I'd be a combination of green and indigo. Green because, like Darcy, I'm a firm believer in it. Like I feel like I possess a lot of willpower in terms of the things that I do, especially when it comes to training and just all those things that I've had to overcome. Willpower is always the number one key thing that's always gotten me through. But compassion in the sense of I'm very empathetic, and with all the spirituality stuff that I'm really immersed in right now, I feel like that kind of coincides with the indigo Lantern Corps. So yeah, I think that it'd either be between those two for sure for me.
So, Umar, quick question for you.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that Tactix was going to say green? I mean, I don't think there was any foreshadowing at all besides the giant wall behind him.
Actually, when I helped him paint that wall and I asked that question, that was like years ago, and you gave a different answer back then. I'm trying to remember what you said because
I don't even. How do you remember that far back? I don't even remember that.
You're painting this giant green wall, and you're like, I would go with anything but green right now.
I think you.
What answer did I pick? Yellow for sure.
No, you said that as a joke, like you're kind of like you're doing right now. I think it was a mixture of you said you think you would do will, but ultimately you would go for hope.
Interesting.
Because you said that like you feed, like you get stronger with willpower, but you believe in more. Because that's one of the things about the Blue Lantern Corps. They're like at like an average of, let's say 6.
Yeah.
Like 6 out of 10 in terms of power. But if one Green Lantern is around them, they go from 6 to an 11 out of 10.
Hmm.
And also they charge Green Lanterns to like their battery on their own. So it's like both of them become like an unstoppable force together. So I said that to you, and you were like, "Yo, I think I would be like blue."
Mm.
I feel like hope is a beggar though. Compassion is just more sexy. You know, just saying. You know, hope is like, yo, I hope something happens.
Wow, both of us were not ready for that. We're just like,
the
beggar. What?
Hope is a beggar, man.
Hope is moving around here like, please, sir, give me some of your will.
Can I have some more?
I need some lantern powers.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, I would say that I fairly firmly fall within the compassion indigo tribe. To be honest, like the only thing that I felt that was like in the comics, the indigo tribe is made up of entirely criminals, mostly because that's the ring goes after those who need to give compassion for what they've done. So like basically they're full of criminals, and all of them are feeling the weight of what they've done because they're holding on to that thing. But that's almost like they're being trapped in it. except for the main one who she actually she's a criminal. She did feel forced compassion, but then she began to feel compassion over time, so that's why she powers herself now. But anyway, like just in terms of like out of all the emotions on the spectrum, I think I would fall in compassion the most. Like that is possibly the thing I'm most defined as among my friends, and also my family. If I was gonna do a runner-up like you guys did,
you violent as fuck, bro.
I was just gonna say
you violent as fuck, bro. A little too much violent, if you ask me.
I'm just like, how do I say this in like a manly way? Because like I don't think there's a man in Violet. I think I would be the first Violet on that team. I'd be like, ladies, what up?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what though? It's right.
It's right.
It's totally right. 100%. I think that's your first choice.
No, that's my second choice.
That's your first choice for sure, bro.
So I have two questions for Umar. One, you shouldn't drink that drink right now. One, what did you do that you need to confess is the reason why you're compassion? Because you're over here like they're all criminals who have to give compassion. Second of all, basically you're saying these compassion people who people with the compassion ring are essentially like hackers who get caught by the CIA and are forced to work for them to actually do good now.
Kind of. For me, like I would say that the actual like I don't. If it was like it was full of a bunch of people who felt overwhelming compassion for other people, and that's when the rings came and find them, that I would fit with that more. This feels like because the core was made specifically to focus towards criminals to like make them feel bad about what they've done. That's leaving out like that's just like technicality in my opinion. For me, I would say like the actual emotion that I derive the most would be compassion, and hopefully that it would find me on that basis. If not, and if it requires me to be a criminal, then I'm going to Violet, because I'm just like they're gonna be like, oh, okay, you don't qualify, and then the other ring will just zoom right past it and take me, and I'll be like, son of a bitch.
That's a long way of getting around the fact that he doesn't want to confess. I get it. Okay,
cool. In a roundabout way, yeah.
I was trained as a lawyer, so like we definitely want to go roundabout.
Yeah, that's true. I forget about that sometimes.
Yeah. I still don't even know what you do, bro. I've known you for years. Okay,
I should preface this by I have actually told him, viewers, that I've told him I think 3 times. One of them in a setting where we were at dinner. We were sat around the table, and I'm like, "What do you think I'd do?" He said exactly what he just said right now. And then I was like, okay, this is what I do. 10 minutes later, like literally when we were like having dessert, I'm like, yo, T, what do I do? And he just like, I was like, okay, well, never mind.
Because you always have to give like a prelude to what you do before you actually explain it. It's like with Matt and like Darcy or anyone else that we know within our group. It's like very simple. It's like I do this. I'm in cabinetry, or I'm a web developer, or I'm a florist. It's like, okay, so let me sit you down and explain real quick what I do. So you know how this and this and this and I'm like, okay, you lost me when you said I have to sit down and explain. You have to explain it. I was like, what?
Okay.
Like if it takes longer than 2 seconds for you to tell me what your title is,
okay.
It's too long.
I'm going to tell you the title.
I like you as a person, though. I mean, that's got to count for something, right?
No, like,
I know that you work. I just don't know what the fuck you don't judge me
for. Yeah. It's good that you don't judge me for what my work is. Okay. For those who are interested.
You're like Chandler, bro.
Finally someone said it.
No, but you look like Ross. You look like Ross, but you're like Chandler.
You're way more like Ross, but your job is like Chandler.
Yeah.
So if we were playing that like trivia question game, and like everyone's like, "What is Umar Shamim's job?" and everyone would be like, "All right, I'm a policy analyst."
Yeah, it's like Chandler.
This is why I sit you down and I give you context, because I say that and you don't know what that means. You're just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah. All right, well, how about next week you update us on the weenus, okay? And that's for any hardcore friends. If you're a real Friends fan, you know what the weenus is, okay? It's not what it sounds like. Nobody knows what it is.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, so I think we've sufficiently answered that question, and then some.
Yeah, definitely answered. Nice transition. We definitely answered that question about the weenus. That's fine.
All right, I have a secondary question for us. Yo, who here has watched the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990?
Oh, of course. I've seen that so many times that I can't even count anymore.
As a kid, or as like a teenager?
Like recently.
Never seen it. Never seen it. I'm kidding.
I was like, we shutting this down. We're having a Netflix party right now.
Yeah. You in the wrong podcast, bro.
But it has been a while since I've seen it, though. You know, like I mostly saw it when it was like running as like a rerun on TV a lot. You know, I never got to see it like in theaters and nothing like that. So
I don't think I saw it in theaters actually.
I don't remember if I saw
VHS.
Yeah,
I don't remember if I saw it in theaters, but I've seen it a lot. I've had like 2 different versions of it on VHS.
Yeah. Is it still going, or is it like starting like?
Nah, it's probably I haven't tested it in a while. I mean, I don't even know where my VCR. I don't even know if I own a VCR anymore. But
I ruined the VCR. Sorry, the VHS, and I have the DVD.
Oh, nice.
You know, it'd be fun. Is like when we do like a pizza party or something after all this pandemic stuff goes away, and we're like, all right, let's put the VHS version in, and then like midway through, someone like Matt or someone's gonna be like, yo, I just need to go to the bathroom. You just like pause it, like whatever, like bro, it's the VHS, man. Like we can pause, but we can don't make us all wait like this, you know? Yeah. Like all the problems that come with like, oh, you just like go back 10 seconds. No, I ain't going back 10 seconds.
Yo, if we do that, we're definitely have to get Domino's pizza.
True.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
You know what though? Like when it comes to TMNT, in Canada, at least in Toronto, I don't know. There might be like probably 1 or 2, but there's no real like proper like New York style pizza that you would get to like really line up with that show, because you need that like super long slice with like a little cheese melting off of it, and like. We gotta find like a proper like New York style. Probably won't be the best pizza, but like a proper like in like the theme kind of pizza, and have that with the movie.
Yeah.
The only reason I say Domino's is because in the first one that was the pizza delivery dude who's just like it's like 122
and an 8.
True. But it just doesn't feel right, you know. The actual pizza itself, like
I hear you. Yeah,
gotta eat it.
Okay, so. I think it was you who told me this, but like, so in the, I think Turtles lore or something like that, it was kind of like debated over what kind of turtles they like. All 4 of them were they like the same one, or were they like different ones? So I looked into it ever since you brought that up, and it turned out that in the 2018 cartoon of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that just like came out, well, obviously like 2 years ago. That was the one that had them as different types of turtles. Like Raphael was like a snapping turtle. That's why he's like massive compared to the other other 3. And like I think Donatello was like the weakest form of it's like stuff like that. But in the original series, and also in like the live action movie and like all subsequent stuff, the turtles that got mutated were the red-eared sliders turtles, and that's why they like that type has like this red piece like down their head or something like that, and that's what gave the creators the idea of putting different colored masks on them.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know I didn't know which type each of them were. I remember I was like randomly searching. I think I stumbled upon like one of the like old school turtle videos or whatever when Michelangelo was having the nunchuck duel with one of the Foot Clan.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yo, randomly, I was just
chucker, eh?
Yeah. And I was like, randomly, I was just like, I wonder which turtle is actually the strongest, right? Obviously, it wouldn't be Donatello, but I was like Googling that. And then, I stumbled upon the fact that they were saying how like Raphael is the strongest because he's the biggest, because he's a snapping turtle, right? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But, he keeps getting his ass kicked by Leonardo. So,
Except for in the sorry, Darcy, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say one thing I find interesting though is like, and I was just literally googling pictures right now to go back to like the like original animated series. So like obviously in the movie like they're all the same, and it would make sense that like even just from like a budget perspective, you know, you'd want the same material because it's just cheaper and easier to do. But I was thinking like, and I was like trying to look up like old pictures, and I don't think it's like the oldest ones, but some of them like I want to say like. I don't want to say years, but like, you know, few comic books back or whatever generations back, they started drawing them as like different colors, and they weren't necessarily like as close to as recent where they looked very different, like it's actually starting to look like they're fundamentally different turtles, but they would like do different shades on like their like skin tone, but the rest of them will kind of
I remember
generically the same. And I was just trying to like find like at what point, because I feel like I'm like looking at like the original like 90s one, and I'm like they're clearly all the same like tone of green,
but the toys though were like distinctly very different in that regard. Like I remember some of the toys, like Donatello was a lot darker than a lot of the other turtles. Like, because I had a couple of the toys, and I remember that distinction.
Yeah, and like obviously, like the newer animated stuff, like the 3D stuff that they did, like they're definitely like different shades. But I just find that like an interesting thing, because it's like it's kind of halfway between the idea of like they're different turtles, but like not enough to be trying to be like showing their species or whatever the correct term is, to be like this is their actual like fundamentally different, like their snapping turtle, for instance.
Yeah,
I guess.
Sorry, go on.
Well, in the 2010 animated one, animated movie, they had all four of them, and that was the one that had that big fight between Raphael and Leonardo on the roof, I think, and Raph won that one. And I think it's always been that Leo has always been the most skilled. Raph has always been the strongest. And then Donatello's the smartest, and Michelangelo's the funniest.
He's the playful one.
Yeah. And so what they did I think that's what they showcased it in that movie, and then they liked the idea so much that in the 2013 really super massive hit animated cartoon, they kind of pushed that, where they had like Leo being the like specifically chosen leader by Splinter, and then also making him the most focused and the most skilled, but having Raph as being the angriest, but also they actually gave him an episode where he was the leader, and he realized that he's actually not cut out for it, because he's used to unless he has someone to argue with, like he needs an authority figure to keep in check. But if he is the authority figure, he has no strategy. Like he's more exactly, and like he doesn't know how to like checkmate the opponent. He knows how to beat the opponent, like come at them, fight them, be able to like keep getting back up and like knocking them down. But when it comes to like, oh, we're surrounded, what do we do? He's like, just keep fighting. And so they actually he came back and realizing that like he's like, Leo, I need you. Like I need to watch your back, but I also need you to like guide me at the same time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't been like the much of like a forethought. You know, I'm gonna make a comparison here. When I was a kid, right, and then you're picking like superhero animated shows coming out, and you're like, oh, I love this character. Two characters that always felt similar to me: Raphael and Wolverine.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Like just in like their aggression, their anger, the fact that they both had the three prongs, like they were different, obviously, but like he would hold it sometimes. That was called like the Sai or whatever it is.
Yeah, and
it would just like it would kind of look like it. But I just at the time I think I identified with the two of them. I'm like, yeah, like Raphael was always my favorite. Plus red's like my favorite color, so like that always worked. But yeah,
that's an interesting comparison, because I feel like based on that dynamic between Wolverine and Cyclops, it was similar with Raphael and Leonardo. So
except for the fact that like now, because Raph has never been someone to lead. He's someone to go solo. Like he can go on his own and do things, or he can partner up, like either with Casey Jones or like another like hero, like they can be a duo that like kind of does their own thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of like leading, Raph has never been shown to be someone who can do that. Wolverine of late has been like there's comic books and also a cartoon series. Like, it was one season called Wolverine and the X-Men, and Wolverine has been put in charge, and it makes sense because, like, he's the more impulsive, he's the loner, he's also the more angrier person, but also he's the oldest by far. Like, he's Charles Xavier is half his age, so is Magneto. Like, he is well older than everybody, and that, like, while he's been kind of someone who's like, he was lost for a long time, but once he was centered by Professor Xavier, and also when he thought, okay, look, I need to lead these kids and also I need to protect them, he's able to actually utilize the group.
Yeah. And plus, I think fans just really wanted Wolverine to lead. I mean, let's be honest, Scott was lame.
Also, at the same time, you also got like, that was the whole thing where like Storm became his second in command, and then they started, you know.
I did not know that, but that's interesting.
Really?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were a thing. I mean, I guess they alluded to it in Days of Future Past, but I didn't know that was an actual thing from the comics.
That was a thing. Like, there was an entire like segment where those two of them were like going to town on each other.
Wow.
So, interesting thing. I just seeing the YouTube titles that come up, but without clicking the videos. Someone was saying that it's rumored that Wolverine will show up in Black Panther 2. Right. And obviously, with the introduction of like the X-Men need to come into the universe, it also makes me think, well, obviously Storm will probably come in through Black Panther at some point, whether it's this movie or like another one. I'm like, ooh, interesting. I wonder if they would show that dynamic in this universe, or would they go the route where Storm and Black Panther, obviously, like, there's that storyline as well. But you just reminded me of the fact that, like, Wolverine is rumored to come in through the next Black Panther.
That's an interesting choice for introduction for him, because I would say, and this is based off my limited knowledge of Black Panther, but Wolverine hasn't done a lot with them. I mean, maybe in connection with Vibranium.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like that would be a good tie-in for them.
Yeah, because that's his metal, right? That's in his body again.
Adamantium.
I was like, I knew I was gonna get that wrong. I'm like, don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud.
Yeah, it's his adamantium.
But they could change it. I mean, they don't necessarily have to go adamantium, do they?
Ooh, if you do that, that's going to be like, I know a lot of people were upset when they made Cap's shield pure vibranium, but like in the comics, I think originally it was supposed to be adamantium, then it became like adamantium with vibranium, and now it's just like pure vibranium.
Which one is the strongest metal? Like, is it
the more indestructible one? Is adamantium. Like, it's said to be the toughest, with vibranium being the close second.
Question then: where does adamantium come from a mining perspective in the comics?
That I don't remember.
Darcy already has the answer.
No, I don't actually. No, no, because I'm saying, because if it's also somewhere in Africa, then it would that could be a reason for the tie-in in terms of like why it's coming from that way. I mean, the other thing too, though, is like they're probably just setting something up from a perspective. If that's true, like, I mean, like, I saw a title, I didn't even watch the video for the.
I don't think it's a natural occurring thing. I think it's like an artificial metal that's like.
Then Wakanda would be the smartest place involved with metal in the world. Yeah, so they would be the most likely in the current MCU to create that substance, especially with Tony Stark being passed on now, right? So, and
then like kind of the U.S. government, actually it's the Canadian government. The Canadian government then takes the adamantium and then starts Weapon X.
Yeah,
Weapon X project.
And here the thing is, like, they have a lot of things to tie in, right? So they have a lot of story that is like things that have already happened. Like, they're like, as far as I know, Deadpool, the incarnation that we have, is going to come in, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, he breaks fourth walls, and they barely had like a scene where they show the current or the previous X-Men in the background as a joke, but it's obviously still a joke. Thing is, though, like, you can use like the Deadpool character to explain a bunch of things away but he has already existed. I mean, like, he sarcastically try to explain it. He can just make a joke of him. I don't mean like it's actually logical. It just means it's like, laugh about it, and then like, oh, that's funny, that's gone. It's kind of like when Jesse Jeff was like walks up to oh my god, I'm getting her name wrong in my head. What's that? The mother character.
Vivian.
On Viv?
Yeah, on Viv. Oh my god, I'm gonna get so many people be like, "Yo, revoke his black card right now." No, I had the name Victoria pop in my head, and I couldn't get it out. Yeah, no. When on Viv like comes in, he's just kind of like, it's like something looks different about you, right? And
ever since you had that baby on Viv, something's different about you.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use Deadpool for like that kind of humor, but the thing is that like if he's still in the universe, then his like all the stuff that happened to him that was supposed to come out of Wolverine already happened, right? Wolverine obviously will have existed in this universe for a long time, and yet nobody's seen him. So and they're probably going to form an X-Men, because I don't think they're just going to be like, and there's a giant X-Men organization over here that we've been ignoring all these movies. Like it'd be kind of weird. So I think they're going to have to form it. And if they have to form it, then Wolverine, knowing to have lived and have been all around the flipping world, could just happen to be in Africa around the time that they introduce them for some logical reason that they'll come up with.
So do you think it's going to be like an origin thing where they're like establishing the X-Men after after all the events from Avengers and all that, all the other movies previously happened? Like, are we just going to...
I don't know. Like I've heard theories that people are saying around that like Scarlet Witch is going to create them. But I kind of feel like, I mean, I think it's like lots of good reason to that, but I feel like... What's that? Go on. Like, I don't know if they're gonna like. I don't know how they would do it if they like take from multiple dimensions and kind of collapse them into one. But I feel like a lot of these characters are gonna have pre-existing history. It's not gonna be like some guy named Logan didn't have powers and suddenly has powers and now he's a mutant. Like, I think that would just be way too easily convenient. I think it's way better to have them have history, whether it's, say, it's dimensions collapsing, like what happened with the whole like Flash universe in the TV show recently. Not that everyone's watching that, but like it collapses, and you know, his backstory is something that you can explore, because if all these characters have been in some way or another in this world, then you also have a lot of things to like you can kind of pull from that have happened, and maybe it's an explanation to something that we didn't get an explanation on or something like that.
So one thing that I think it's like a little bit of friends and I talking about, and also some things we've just been reading online, where it's the combination of the fact that Tony Stark created the gauntlet for the the 6 stones, and both him and Bruce Banner used it. But that gauntlet clearly was not functioning as well as the first one from Infinity War, because like just having them put it on, even Thanos putting it on, it was like a constant surge of pain.
Yeah.
While the first one, there was like a momentary surge, but then like he can use it properly. So it's possible that the fact that it's this imperfect glove was used twice to use all 6 stones in succession. And the result, and also the fact that like they fractured time a shit ton during Endgame, it could be that somehow those all can kind of in some way collide in a future situation where all this energy, all this improper use, all this cosmic effects has resulted in a new timeline.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think that just kind of like backs off the point I was trying to make, which is like you create a new timeline, but these characters will have had history, and I don't know if they'll do it kind of where it's like, I hate to use this as an example, but like with the Flash universe, where you know they're like, you know, some of these people know the history, like their version of history, and then the Flash characters are like, but we know a different version, and then like, you know, someone will wake them up to it and like, oh my gosh, now they both collide in their mind. I mean, I don't think they'll do quite that, because it's 1, complicated, and 2, I don't think anyone wants to see them do that, but yeah, like I like the idea of like you meet Wolverine and Wolverine has a history, and I also like the idea of like, so for instance, when Spider-Man was introduced, right? Spider-Man like had clearly been doing things, and we just hadn't known about it.
Months.
Yeah, and we hadn't known about it until Tony Stark brought it forward, and clearly Tony Stark's paying attention, but the audience doesn't have that information. And so, like, oh, here's an idea off of this. What if Tony Stark has like a Batman like database on all the like mutants. all the mutants, all of the superheroes that are low level in the world, or like a good number of people he's been kind of cataloging, and he's just aware, and maybe some of that information gets released out, like someone like, you know, takes over, like, you know, we've seen Spider-Man like taking over the glasses and whatnot.
But then like, why wouldn't he like go and reach out to any of them for any of the epic battles? Like, but the thing with the Spider-Man is like, he looked at him and he's like, he knows that he's going to become something great, right? And like, maybe a lot of these people are like early on, like maybe he's got rumors of somebody, and it's been recorded in a database, or maybe somebody's like, you know, in a different stage or whatever. Like, when you come to these battles like Civil War and stuff like that, he's not gonna just bring a random person in there he doesn't feel like he can trust, right?
Yeah, like one can make the argument that he had thoroughly investigated Peter Parker and it was like, no, this is someone I can trust. But I would say that to Tactix' point, that's like opening a can of worms for a lot of people to be like, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Like, like it's kind of like what I loathe to say his name, but Jesse Eisenberg in BVS did, where he's like, by the way, I have been watching these people. I've even created insignias for them. And then Batman just steals it, and you're like, he's been monitoring these people. Interesting. So I would say that's like, I would be hesitant to use that because it has been done before. Granted, it's been done poorly. Yeah. But that's like if you're like putting a team together. If you're like opening up an entire race, Tony Stark should really have done a little bit more than just be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep tabs on it. Hence why I'm like, I would be hesitant on how they do that.
Yeah, that's all fair. That's all fair. Yeah.
Because I feel like with someone like Tony Stark, he'd be a little bit more inquisitive about like shit like that, especially if it's mutants that we're talking about and not like just superpowered beings. Like,
yeah, like I know in so the MCU when they did Civil War, he was more kind of reacting to things to be like, okay, let's get in line with the government, and to a certain extent he did that in the comics. But like in the comics when Civil War happened, it was because they wanted to register all masked superheroes, and that included like mutants. And Captain America was like, no, anonymity is what's keeping us safe. And Tony Stark is like, no, that's what's making them distrust us. And then the two of them just couldn't see eye to eye, and like Tony Stark convinced Peter Parker to take off his mask in public and be like, hey, I need you to be my poster boy. And that just seriously had negative effects on Spider-Man's life. Yeah. So, yeah, like Tony Stark has always been someone who, like, he looks for threats and tries to mitigate them. So if he discovered like a new race of beings that was like being developed in his backyard and also throughout the world, he definitely would have thrown some red flags in the air, being like, "Yo, guys, this is happening."
Yeah.
So I have another random thought come into my head, and I know that there's probably some hardcore, you know, read every comic book person who's listening to me and going, "Man, just shut up." But
I'm sure they can say that to all of us at this point.
No, I know, I'm just teasing. But one of the thoughts that kind of popped in my head is, so what if? So I'm hell bent on this idea that, like, you know, Wolverine has existed, right? Because of his age and his wisdom and his experience. So what if, like, there's a theory, and we already had introductions of Scarlet Witch and her brother and stuff like that. So what if there was like a small amount of mutants, right, that have existed, just a very small of them, and then when whatever happens in the Scarlet Witch show ends up kind of like accelerating the evolution way faster than it was supposed to be. So like so then we could get the opportunity to introduce a lot of characters at younger ages that typically might be just as old as like or like, you know, in line with like Wolverine in terms of seniority in the X-Men and stuff like that. But now they're young, and Wolverine just gets to be that, like, he just is older because he's been around, and a few characters have been there. They're like the senior ones, and they kind of like develop them up throughout multiple films and stuff like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen, seeing as how the WandaVision series is looking to be her having like her powers going out of control, and also she may potentially be becoming mentally unstable like she was in the comics. So like it very well possibly, because like I know at one point she has like a 60s sort of like playing house with Vision sort of aspect. So if she's inadvertently time traveling and also like her powers are going whack, she could actually be the mother of the mutant race, is as kind of like the opposing action of, in the comics, she was the decimator of the mutant race.
Yeah, I also heard the rumor that the next big bad, or part of like the, you know, there'll probably be several obviously, but like, is that Doctor Doom is like the next big thing.
Please let they do Doctor Doom well.
And that Doctor Doom like builds up to, what is it?
Fantastic Four? Galactus.
Galactus. Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna pronounce the last like couple letters wrong. I couldn't remember what they were. But yeah, like, and everybody wants it to be that that it's John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to be the leaders of Fantastic Four.
They want that too. But I would say that like for me, I am less worried about Reed Richards and Sue Storm and like the Thing and Human Torch being done accurately. What I want is Doctor Doom done well. Like I want Michael Fassbender level well, and like Ian McKellen level well for like those guys, for that character, because Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender brought different ages and also different ways of doing Magneto, but they nailed him. Just like Patrick Stewart and like James McAvoy nailed their respective characters, or ages of their characters. But Doctor Doom has been consistently bungled. For me anyway, like in the cartoon, but like granted this was just like the Spider-Man cartoon from like the 80s, and then, or like the early 90s, I can't remember what it was, but then also the 2 Fantastic Four movies, and then on top of that, then they did that atrocious Fantastic Four movie that you guys came to see me on my birthday when it came out in theaters. The only good thing about it was Michael B. Jordan was Human Torch.
Yeah, you know, I would actually still love to see that get like the equivalent of a Snyder cut right now, because apparently there is still like the majority of that was cut differently, and most of it was done. Yeah,
like basically the director of Chronicle was doing the movie, and like you can tell the first half of the movie was his, and then the studio was like, "You're fired. We're gonna get another director to like do the last half." And like even we said it, we're like, "What the hell happened in this movie?" Like it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad.
No, so, like, I remember when we were watching it in the beginning. And then as soon as it went 1 year later, that's when everything went downhill. Because before that, I was like, yo, what are you talking about, Umar? This movie is not bad, man. Like everything is aligning up correctly. The character development's really good. And then I was like, oh, no, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I was also watching random videos. You know, you're on YouTube, you're working something in the background. And it came across and they were saying like even some of the scenes in the beginning, like the way they were edited was edited in a way to like, you know, set up like, first of all, the character played Doctor Doom wasn't even supposed to be a Doctor Doom. Like he was supposed to be a different villain, and he was just supposed to be like ironically named, I think, set up for a future state. And they also edited to try to make it like, oh, there is like a love triangle, but that wasn't supposed to be the case either. Like you can tell by the tone that he was going for. Like there was like some of the things they did there, like they wouldn't do that. Like it's like it doesn't make sense. I think like. And what Tack is saying, like 1 year later, then all of a sudden it's just like it took a dump, like out of nowhere. But the one thing that it really bothered me, and I really wanted to see the film done right. It was Michael B. Jordan's part, but it was also the oh my god, why do I hear you say a name and then like, it leaves my head like that?
Miles Teller.
Yeah, Miles Teller. So both of them,
Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic. They both had like a reaction that I liked, but Michael B. Jordan's was better. So when they were doing they were testing their abilities, but they came back and like their abilities were out of control. Like they weren't just testing them; they were like freaking out. When I saw Michael B. Jordan freaking out, and then I looked at the way they edited the sound and everything, they were trying to portray it kind of like okay, he's losing control, but look how powerful he was in like the sound editing. But in reality, I know that was supposed to be shot more, and you were supposed to hear terrifying, horrific level screaming. And I'm like, I really wanted to see Michael B. Jordan's portrayal in that moment, because it would have been really dope just to see like that this is a horrific experience that they now have to overcome.
He wakes up on fire. Like, that would be terrifying.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that there was, the way they were depicting it, that there was some level of pain to go with it. Like, he had to adapt to it, and it wasn't like he just woke up and it was like, I'm on fire. My body perfectly knows how to handle this. It's more like he's probably like, let's say his body is actually handling it. It's releasing everything and controlling it, but his brain is not yet wired to it. So his brain is probably firing the, like, was it sympathetic nervous system or whatever? Like the nerve endings, that makes you think that you're in danger, yet his body is handling it. So his body is in conflict with itself, and he's like freaking out. And that, to me, when I saw it, I was like, I can see what he's acting, and they're trying to edit it to pretend like it's not that. And it was pissing me off the most.
Yeah, like just going back to my original point, like for Doctor Doom, like the reason why I'm so desperate for this to go well is because Human Torch, I got Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, the movie sucked, but at least I got the Human Torch out of him. Like, the character was still there. And even Chris Evans, to a certain degree, he didn't do it, like, he was the funny man, Human Torch, but at least, like, there was a certain element of, like, hey, I'm the kid brother. Jessica Alba and, like, Kate Mara, yeah, they never really, like, Emily Blunt will clearly blow those performances out of the park and like make it worthwhile. John Krasinski can own, and also the two of them can make their relationship work. All that stuff, and the thing I don't think is that big of a deal. But Doctor Doom is set to be like, this guy is supposed to be literally the most powerful and the most brilliant. He has seen the future. He is doing his villain things to save humanity from its future self. And he has magic. On top of like all the technology he has magic. The man could like take on Magneto or Professor X. He can take on Loki and possibly even win against these guys. That's why I'm like, I need that brilliance. I need that foresight, and I need that certain like duality. Like, is he a mad person? Like, he does the bad things, yes, but he's doing it because he's like, yo, if I don't do this now, humanity will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm. So one thing, every good superhero movie is always defined by the villain, like 100%. Like, don't get me wrong, Christian Bale was great, but if it wasn't for Heath Ledger, like he wouldn't be as beloved, because Heath Ledger is what made that second film so good.
And the acting he had to do against Heath Ledger, like just being in the same room with him, like the acting went up a level. You could feel it.
So here's the other thing, though. So I don't know if you guys watch this. There's a YouTube channel called Mr. Sunday, and they're doing this, like, it's actually two guys. I don't know why it's Mr. But anyways, and they do this. They're doing this series right now, which ironically, not all the movies are garbage, but they call it the Caravan of Garbage.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And they're a couple of British guys, and they were doing the Fantastic Four. It's like, I started really watching it because you got to watch the Fantastic. They do the whole Fantastic Four series from the 90s ones to, or early 2000s to the Thou Shall Not Be Mentioned version.
Wait, there was an unreleased version of the Fantastic Four, though, that never really got, like, it never officially got released. But
but they're just covering, like, they just they would watch it and they would go over some of the scenes. And one thing I gotta say, so don't get me wrong, like, Jessica Alba's portrayal in that movie, you know, like, it left a lot to be desired. But when they went through it, one thing I felt bad for Jessica Alba, because they wrote a bad character. And the one thing they highlighted, and this is like going back to early days and like just stupid stuff in Hollywood, is like the amount of times that they identified through each one of the movies that she had, like, she was half dressed in a bra. Like, there were so many scenes that were like, she was like in public, and she was like, there's this whole thing where she like goes invisible and comes back out and she's naked, and it was so unnecessary. And it was like, just so we could like see Jessica Alba like almost nude, right? And it was just like, wow, they really didn't want a character. They just wanted a hot chick that was like half naked. Like,
also, like, they got someone, like, they didn't even make her, like, with Michael B. Jordan. They're like, no, he's black. Like, he's not pretending to be white. with Jessica Alba, they were very clearly trying to pretend, like, pass over as her just being like pure white, and I was like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, like, yes, because it's the times, 100%.
Well, yeah, but like,
she could play a completely white person and, like, you know, just and be totally like not, because she's one of the people that ethnically looks like she's multiple ethnicities at the same time, right? You know, depending on how she is. For me, I just feel like she can transition between ethnicities. And it's not like a bad thing or whatever. The thing I really just like is, other than the fact that they just wanted to keep her half dressed all the freaking time, but was that she wasn't like portrayed intelligently. Like when they were watching the thing, and I was watching, like, she was having all these like relationship problems with the marriage and stuff like that, and it was like, but like, isn't she supposed to be so ridiculously smart that, like, when a problem goes down, like, that shit wouldn't matter?
She's so smart that Victor Von Doom is even like, you're someone comparable to me. Like, let's get married. We might actually produce a genius child.
Yeah. What's that kind of hinted at in the new one? I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I had a random thing I wanted to bring up, and this is circling all the way back to, you know, green is mean and all that stuff. So TMNT.
Yeah.
And this is a question for us people of color. So when I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about TMNT, and was like, one of the reasons why I really liked him when I was younger is the same reason I like Spider-Man when I was younger. And do you know what it is?
They're teenagers and they are superheroes in New York.
Wow, so off the mark.
I know.
Why did Stan Lee make Spider-Man the way that he is?
Oh, because you didn't know what race he was.
You could see yourself in him, who he was. And the thing I liked about, I was thinking about this, like, I loved Raphael, and I think it was because when I was younger, I had a lot of frustration, and I liked, he had like the red bandana, but I think it was his rage that, like, for me, identified with at the time. It's like, I think it was something I was feeling, but I wasn't like able to voice as a child. And so I think the thing I liked about them was, one, they were like ethnically agnostic, like it did not matter. Like anyone could see himself, and they were personality based. So how you had 4 different personalities of essentially like the same idea, and then you could identify yourself in whichever one of the 4 you fit along with, which is also really good when you're chatting with friends, right? Yeah. Because everybody wants to be something, and it's not like when you're like, you know, you look at, I don't know,
the Ghostbusters.
Like, yeah, well, I was Batman. Yeah, but no, I was gonna say like a Justice League or something where, like, let's say you take it back to like Justice Friends and stuff like that. Like you take it where like they're all like one race, right? And so you it's harder to identify, you know, and you kind of always choosing one or the other, and you know, like with them, it was just like they were just like, which personality do I fit with? Because they were all kind of the same thing, and none of them.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like in Stranger Things when I'm not sure if you guys have seen that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I haven't seen the 3rd season.
Well, like first
off, shame. But anyways, go on.
Well, in the I can't remember which season, but like when they did like them dressing up as the Ghostbusters, and they're like, oh no, you can't be, you should be Winston. It's like, why should I be Winston? Because I'm black. And it's like, it kind of goes to your point. It's like you either all of them are white, and you kind of have to choose which one kind of fits with you, or if you're a person of color, everyone's like I mean, whenever we were talking about Disney stuff, everyone was just like, oh, you would probably want to dress up as Aladdin, and I was like, I don't connect with Aladdin, but okay.
Who do you connect with?
Disney.
Actually, I never really thought about it. I
always hard though, because it's the more iconic characters are the princesses, not really the prince.
Yeah, true. Which is a good thing, but
yeah, agreed.
I mean, it is, and also I like the newer adaptations that they're showing women. They're not all princesses.
I don't know what Disney prince that would, or Disney male counterpart I would be.
Mufasa.
Wally, maybe.
Interesting.
But
not where I thought you were going to say at all.
But like, just going back to my point, like I think I like what you have to say, because it's true, because when I was younger, I was all about the Michelangelo. I was like, yo, he's my boy. And then as I got older, I was like, yo, he's stupid. Like, fuck Michelangelo. Donatello is where it's at.
Yeah, that makes sense for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. By the way, I said it earlier, and I want to correct myself. You guys might not have heard me, but people listening might have heard me. I meant to say Simba, not Mufasa. But yeah, no. When it comes to like a Disney character, I feel like Simba is like the one. But I think that's just like my own natural desire to be more connected to like ethnic roots. More than anything, it's like, yeah, it's like that's the only thing I can think of. The rest of Disney is like,
what about Tarzan though?
no. That's a white dude in Africa.
Tarzan for me, yo.
It's all you. No.
Like, seriously, think about like Disney. I have no idea what Disney character I would be.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
I'd probably be the bird from a Lion King.
Oh, Zazu?
Zazu.
Interesting.
Yeah, now I'm like really trying to chase in my mind, like, is there any other characters that like wanna be? No, I can't think of any.
I just want to climb trees, man.
He wasn't climbing trees. Like Tarzan was like surfing trees.
Yeah, bro, that was sick.
He was like Iceman on like wood.
Yeah, man.
Interesting. Damn. Yeah, I'm still over here just thinking about that like what other Disney characters are there like for men that you like identify with?
There aren't much, man. There's like the Beast. There's Simba.
Mufasa, Scar.
Yeah.
There's Aladdin. There's Prince Eric from Little Mermaid. There's.
I feel like all the princes are just like forgettable for me.
Yeah, like it's Prince Charming. He doesn't even have a name unless Charming's his name.
I'm gonna name you Charming.
Oh, and there's
Hercules. An asshole. It's like you are not supposed to. Oh, Hercules. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Hercules.
True. I don't identify with him at all.
Yeah, I totally don't identify with him at all.
Like the.
I don't even remember Hercules, to be honest.
The original
movie.
It's
a good movie. I just don't identify with him.
Yeah, I think the original Greek like mythology, like or whatever, it's Greek. Is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah. So
even though they gave him the Roman name, but yeah,
like the I remember watching when I was younger. I think it was like some Bible like thing or something. I don't know. My family used to watch all these like older like Bible movies, and I feel like I saw a Hercules character in that. I don't know. I could be blending things together in my head because I was like 5, but there was like a visual of a guy actually pressing like these two like giant like metal pillar things like himself, and I'm like, I identify with the cool part of like the strength and then nothing else.
Yeah.
No, like yeah, that's a good Disney. That's a good question. Like I'm gonna definitely have to go back and figure that out because I've never actually thought about it.
There aren't many.
There aren't many that aren't like one note. Like
yeah.
I mean, the worst you could say about certain Disney princesses is that they're like 2 notes, like or 2-dimensional. But like for the males, it's even worse. I mean, I guess maybe one of the dwarves from Snow White.
I just like Googled like male Disney characters, and I'm like, I recognize these faces, and I don't care for all of them. Wait. Well, if we take Pixar into the bundle, then
we do because I brought in Wall-E.
Yeah. Then I think we can talk a little bit more.
Okay, but before we end off, because I think we're getting close to our limit, but like, just wanted to say, and like this is also to our viewers as well, if you guys are a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, then I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys check out the 2012 or 2013 animated series that came out. I will say that the trailer for the first season, it's not good. I saw that trailer, I'm like, this is bullshit. The animation, if you're not, you have to kind of get used to the animation, which after the first episode you will, but like the animation kind of makes it look bad also. You look at it and you're like, they couldn't have put more money into this. But when you start watching it, and I know this from experience, and I'm sure that all online TMNT lovers would agree with me, you start watching, within the first 5 minutes you're laughing your ass off, and the more you watch it, the more references to the classic cartoons, to the comics, and also to the movies. Like they just were like, whoever made that was like, yo, we grew up on this shit, so we're going to give it to you, just, you know, in a new form. And the dynamic, and like especially what you're talking about, Darcy, and also you, Tactix, in terms of the dynamics between the brothers and also who you like more, or that sort of thing. You see a lot of their personality traits really shining. Like Michelangelo they made him dumb as fuck in this show. Like to the point that like they're just like, yo, he may actually die if he's by himself. And Donatello has like a big crush on April because she's like a teenager too that they helped out. And yo, Splinter and Shredder are done so well. Like the two of them, like they made him that they grew up together and they were best friends and like brothers. And then over a woman they fought over, and that's what like made Shredder go crazy. And Shredder's he's like a personality type that he can never accept responsibility for what he's done. So all his guilt he is laying on Splinter. So like that's why. Yeah, go on.
In regards to Splinter, now I know there's two different origins of him. Like in the older version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he was a human that got transformed into a rat, and then in other incarnations, he was just a pet rat. Which one is? He's
a human who gets turned into a rat.
Okay, cool.
And it makes sense because, like, frankly, the way they say the mutagen works is that if you get splashed with it, whatever is in your vicinity is what mutates with you.
Okay.
So, like, a rat, like, ran over his shoe, and then he got doused with the mutagen. And then he turned into, like, a human rat. And... yo, like honestly, like when Shredder and Splinter fight, like even before they even, because like I think at the end of season 2, the two of them have like an actual fight, just the two of them. But in the first season, it's they do like a rooftop fight, just like in the TMNT 1990 film, where like all four of them take on Shredder, and he like kicks their ass.
Yeah,
they do that, and it's the season finale, and Shredder beats the shit out of them. Like I was watching this and I was like, yo, is he gonna kill them? Are they gonna end this? Like, are they gonna kill the turtles? And they have to run. They actually have to run away from him. And they're like, well, yo, we came face to face with the Shredder and we weren't ready. Sensei, teach us more.
Shit, that's sick.
Yeah, like I highly recommend, just for the sake of you guys being able to, like, you get your classic characters back. You get them perfectly. They act like brothers. Like there's a scene where they like kind of demolish the lair a little bit, and Master Splinter shows up. He's like, "How many times have I told you guys not to like play with your skateboards in the lair?" And they're like, "You've never told us to do that, Sensei." He's like, "I shouldn't have to tell you. It's obvious." And then there's another one where like they're just arguing with each other, and like Raph is yelling at Mikey, and he's like, "The foot only know one language, the language of fists." And Mikey's just like, "Do they understand the language of feet too?" And Raph is like, "Yes, Mikey, they also understand feet." And then Donatello just like looks up. He's like, "But wouldn't that make them bilingual?" I'm just like laughing my ass off. Like, that's brilliant.
Is Splinter a dick in this one, like he is in the Michael Bay version?
No, he is like so loving, so wise, and also so like you know how you always see the four of them going out and doing this stuff.
Yeah. April
actually goes to Splinter one time, like in one of the episodes, is like, "Yo, they're your sons. Why are you sending them off to die?" He's like, No, but that's what their role is. He's like, "But they're kids. They're your kids." And Splinter's kind of like, "Yes, you're right," and actually like steps up and like joins them in the fight, because he's like, "Oh my god!" But like, he is such a like, he starts training April to be a Konoichi, like a female ninja.
Oh shit!
And he's always guiding. He's like the Uncle Iroh for all our Avatar: The Last Airbender fans. He's the Uncle Iroh of the group, and he does for each of them. Even with Michelangelo, like Michelangelo does like one thing right in the first season, and Splinter's like, "I see what you mean. You've made a wise decision, Michelangelo." And everyone just like looks at him. He's like, "Yes, I never thought I would hear myself say that either." And I'm just like,
oh man. Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap things up, unless Darcy, you got something else to say? Or
I was just gonna back it up. I've actually seen. I feel like the first 2 seasons. I can't remember. I can't remember where I fell off. Yeah, bro. When you were watching it originally, I was watching it too. We used to message on it. You forgot. I'm just saying. But whatever. But yeah, no. I was just gonna say it's a really enjoyable show for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Before we wrap it up, I want to know, Darcy. Umar. You already said it, but if you want to change your answer, which turtle do you guys identify with most?
Now it's Donatello. Before it was Michelangelo when I was a stupid kid.
Darcy?
I feel like now it's Leonardo more than it is Raphael.
T?
For me, it's so hard because I obviously at some point we all identify with each of them, right? But I think predominantly as of right now, maybe Leonardo.
But when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, probably more Michelangelo.
I think it makes sense, yeah.
For me, I never actually identified with Raphael. And to a certain degree, I don't think I've ever really identified with Leo either. Because like Leo, I'm usually the second in command guy. Like I'm always the one who like supports the guy, the man. I'm never the one who is the one in charge. Unless
in that context, you're identifying with the third in command. Let's be honest here.
Well, yeah, but like, all I'm saying is like, unless I'm organizing a movie outing, I'm not really the person in charge, and you guys know that more than anyone.
But what about like characteristics other than him just being the leader?
Leo is the leader. Like he's the noble leader. I guess I can like relate to his honor to a certain degree, but like Donatello was always like the more sweet and also bookish one. Like clearly there's a different, like I'm not saying I'm an incredibly studious individual. I just like reading comic books and also like doing schoolwork as well like that. But like I wasn't like especially gifted. That's why I probably when I was younger I kind of fit more Michelangelo, like the fun-loving, goofy one. Like I'm definitely the goofy one. But as I got older,
Tactix is trying not to laugh.
I saw both. I was like, yo, which was gonna break? Which was gonna break?
I thought it was really Darcy, bro. Darcy was straight face. I was like, nah, I can't hold it.
But yeah, like I would say like Leo and Raph were always like the outliers for me. Raph, I was I don't really identify with him at all unless I'm made to be really angry. But even then, I don't go his way. I think I would say Donatello, Michelangelo, then Leonardo, and then Raph for me.
In relationships, I relate to Raphael. I was very hot-headed in a lot of my previous relationships. So yeah.
I also need to say that I don't think you should base your romantic relationships on a couple of turtles, you know. But
teenage turtles too.
Facts, bro. I'm talking about character, man. But yeah, I stand by that statement.
If we were to go down that road, I think I'm Michelangelo when it comes to relationships.
I think now more in regards to relationships, yeah, definitely Michelangelo.
You know what? I guess summarize.
And Leonardo, actually.
I guess summarize something here though, is that like you do a personality test, and there are like 4 quadrants to a personality test, right? And you make up portions of each of them. I think really what the writers were trying to articulate was like here are 4 components of like major components of like so to a kid growing up and becoming a teenager and all that kind of stuff. Here are like 4 major components, and it's like taking a little bit of each, and everyone's not all of one or the other, but because like in reality, like if you ask me like what I really identify with, it's like I'm a little bit of all of them, right? And we all are to some degree.
I agree with that.
All right,
cool. Mic drop.
All right, well, this has been the first ever edition of Geeky Bros podcast. I'm your boy Tactix.
I'm your boy Darcy. I don't know what I'm doing here still.
Live long and prosper, y'all. Big Geek Umar.
Cool.
I don't think I'll come back for another one after that.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you in the next
one. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Peace, y'all.